Hey, how's it going? This is Scott from the White Boy Chinese podcast, where I teach you elementary Chinese like a normal person, not a robot. Hey guys, welcome to episode 5 of my daily mini Learn Mandarin Chinese podcast. So if you're looking to learn some elementary Chinese, you're in the right place. If you're just tuning in now, I'm the dude who was told he's mentally incapable of learning languages, and yet I prevailed and learned Mandarin Chinese. Am I a genius? No. I just simply came up with my own little system, not because I'm a complete idiot. Actually, for the most part, Chinese classes overwhelm you and send way too much information your way. That's why I came up with a little easy system where you just kind of learn little by little to get around town. Because if you can't get around town, there's no way you can learn the more advanced stuff. Alright, so today's tip can possibly give you diarrhea. If you don't understand this part, you might end up running to the toilet. So make sure you stay tuned to the end. As always, if you leave a review in our iTunes thingamajig, that would help out a lot. If you leave us a 5-star review, I'll be sure to read it on the air. One of the biggest things that really helped me out a lot in China when I was trying to learn Chinese was to have a good support group. So I had basically 2 different types of support groups. One would be foreigners that can kind of just break it down in plain English, whatever issue you're currently having with Chinese. So if I didn't understand something, they would just tell me. And then there's Chinese people who I would just kind of hang out with and talk with. And I managed to find, I became pretty good friends with a couple waiters at a coffee house, and they really hooked me up in the beginning. They really helped me get to the next level without them. So if you ever get the chance to go to China, a lot of people kind of like exile themselves in the middle of nowhere to learn Chinese, which I'm sure works wonderfully because you can't speak any English or whatever your native language is. But if you're not quite that adventurous and want to, live in a big city or something like me, I am not into living in the middle of nowhere, I would recommend just doing what I say. But just don't hang out with foreigners all the time. You have to kind of divvy up your time. Alright, let's go ahead and review what happened last episode. Last episode, we finally learned how to use a really important word. So we got 2 main verbs you really got to remember. The first one is yao, which means to want or to need, followed by yo, which means to have. Yo, the third tone, a little harder to pronounce if you're just starting Chinese. And if you want to put these in the negative form, you would say 不要, which means not to want. And if you want to say not to have, you would say 没有. So if you go to a shop and the person asks you 你要这个吗? They could say, you could respond 要 or 不要, 要 or 不要, meaning that you do or do not want it. But on the other hand, if you want to say that you're in a shop and the shopkeeper asks you if you already have a certain type of shirt, pointing at the shirt, they ask you 你有这个吗? 你有这个吗? You could respond by saying 有, meaning you do have it, or 没有, do not have it. Today we're going to learn a word that may change your life for the better or the worse. La, which means spicy. Alright, so here you are. You're sitting in a restaurant. Lots of restaurants, especially big cities like Shanghai or Beijing, they will have English language menus. It doesn't mean the staff there can speak English, but more than likely they'll have some English words in the menu so you can kind of piece together what you want. And if they don't, there's like a lot of dishes in China. Like for example, I rarely ever read the menu when I'm in China. I just ask the waitress or waiter what they think's good and order that. But a lot of times they have a lot of pictures and stuff like that, so you can just point to the picture and select what you would like to eat. So let's say you're in this restaurant and you do or do not want to eat spicy food. You can point to the dish and say a couple things now that we learned how to say all this cool stuff. You can say 我, meaning myself, 我不要, I do not want 辣, I do not want spicy. And that will indicate that you do not want spicy food. 我不要辣, I do not want spicy food. But on the other hand, if you do want spicy food, you can say 我要辣, I want spicy food. But let's say you're looking at a dish and you're kind of on the fence of if it's spicy or not. We've learned how to say this, so you can point to it and say 这个辣吗?这个 this 辣 spicy 吗? The thing to imply a question. So 这个辣吗? Is this spicy? And in this case, it's no longer a noun. It's actually going to be a verb. So they will respond 辣 or 不辣. 辣 or 不辣. So you really got to be careful. So you can ask them, so you can say 我不要辣, meaning I do not want spicy, or 我要辣, meaning you do want spicy. And if you're kind of on the fence and want to know if something is spicy or not, you can say 这个辣吗?这个 this 辣 spicy 吗? Question mark thing. And they will respond 辣, meaning it is spicy, or 不辣, meaning it's not spicy. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to the tips. Okay, so at the beginning of the episode we're talking about all this toilet nonsense, and if you aren't aware already, a lot of people go to China and they end up getting a pretty bad stomach ache from all the different types of food. So it's pretty important to keep track of what is and what is not spicy, especially if you're sensitive to that type of stuff. One thing you got to keep in mind, and I'm actually going to teach an extra word in the tips today, is 一点, which means a little. 一点. And if you say 一点点, it means just a teeny tiny bit. And if you say 一点, it means a little bit. More than likely, if you ask someone 这个辣吗? Is this spicy? They will respond 一点点. Just a little bit. And this is kind of a cultural difference here. They're just telling you that because they kind of want to make the sale and move on to the next customer. But if you have a bad stomach, you have to make it really clear you don't want spicy. They're just trying to do their job and make it easier on the chef, make the sale faster, and move on to the next customer. It's just a cultural difference. They won't really give it to you straight. So when you order spicy, let's say if you say 这个辣吗? And they respond 一点点, you have to be like 我不要辣, 我不要辣. I do not want spicy. I do not want spicy. You got to be super duper clear, otherwise it will have some spice in it. Or if you want to be on the safe side, just choose a completely different dish. If you want to learn more and get some more free stuff for learning Chinese, definitely make it back to my website. Right now, my website is whiteboychinese.wordpress.com. When you get to that website, you'll see a big blue button that says click here to get on my mailing list. Click on that button and I'll redirect you to a link to get on my mailing list. Once you're on my list, you'll get a ton of free stuff and more than likely daily updates from me about what's going on in the podcast. Thanks, 谢谢, and see you next time.